Gentlemen, I am Dr. Jocelyn. Let's get started. When a wife repeatedly says, I'm tired, it is almost never just about physical exhaustion. The phrase sounds simple, but emotionally it carries layers of meaning that most men are never taught to understand. Women experience fatigue differently from men. They process the world through emotional energy as much as physical energy. A woman may have had a normal day on the outside, but internally she may be carrying a mental load of responsibilities, unspoken frustrations, and constant multitasking that drains her far more deeply than any physical task ever could. When she says she is tired, she is often expressing a kind of emotional shutdown, a feeling that her mind has reached its limit. This tiredness is frequently a protective response. Her body and emotions are signaling that she doesn't have the bandwidth for closeness, conversation, or intimacy because her mind feels overwhelmed. Instead of saying, I'm stressed, I feel alone, or I don't feel emotionally connected, she uses a softer, safer phrase, I'm tired. It becomes a shield that protects her from having to explain emotions she herself may not fully understand in the moment. Many women grow up believing they must always be strong, calm, composed, and available. So instead of showing emotional fatigue openly, they disguise it as physical tiredness. For men, this is confusing because it sounds literal. They think she just needs rest or sleep. But what she truly needs is emotional relief, understanding, empathy, gentleness, presence. When a man hears him tired, what she often wants is for him to recognize that she is emotionally overloaded, not physically defeated. She needs space to breathe, someone to share the weight with, and reassurance that she is not carrying life alone. Once that emotional pressure is understood and eased, her energy and closeness naturally return. Women need emotional safety before physical intimacy, and this truth is often misunderstood in relationships. Emotional safety is not about dramatic conversations or deep therapy-style moments. It is about a woman feeling mentally relaxed, respected, and seen by the person she loves. When emotional safety is missing, her mind becomes tense, guarded, or overloaded, and intimacy naturally becomes difficult. Women don't disconnect physically first. They disconnect mentally long before the body follows. When her thoughts are stressed, her heart weighed down, or her feelings unacknowledged, her body cannot shift into a state of openness or desire. It is not because she doesn't love her partner, but because her emotional system is wired to protect her. If a woman feels that her concerns are dismissed, her efforts overlooked, or her emotional experience is minimized, she subconsciously pulls inward. Her body mirrors her emotional world. This is why simple gestures, a supportive conversation, gentle presence, appreciation, or empathy carry so much power. When she feels understood rather than judged, valued rather than taken for granted, her mind begins to relax. And when her mind relaxes, her emotional guard softens. Emotional safety also means knowing that intimacy will not be demanded, rushed, or treated as an obligation. When a woman senses pressure, she shuts down. When she senses patience, she opens. Men often misunderstand this dynamic, assuming intimacy is only about attraction or physical readiness. But for a woman, intimacy is deeply tied to emotional alignment. She must feel connected before she can feel close. When her partner takes time to listen, to share moments, to reduce her emotional load, or simply offer comfort instead of expectations, her natural desire returns without force. Emotional safety is not a luxury. It is the foundation that allows genuine intimacy to exist. When a wife repeatedly says, I'm tired, it often reflects a buildup of unspoken stress that quietly drains her emotional and physical energy long before she ever talks about it. Women tend to carry emotional weight differently than men. Instead of expressing every frustration or disappointment directly, they store it internally, trying to keep harmony and avoid conflict. Over time, these unaddressed feelings, small resentments, moments of feeling unheard, daily stresses, mental overload, and emotional pressure begin stacking up like invisible bricks. One isolated issue might not seem significant, but collectively they create a heavy emotional burden. This emotional load doesn't just affect her mood, it directly affects her body. The mind and body are deeply connected, and when her mind is overwhelmed, the body shuts down intimacy as a form of protection. Unspoken stress slowly drains her from the inside. It can come from multiple directions: responsibilities, children, work, household pressure, or feeling unappreciated despite her efforts. Even moments where she felt dismissed, ignored, or rushed may linger longer than she shows. She may not express these feelings, not because she doesn't care, but because she doesn't want to add more tension or start a conversation she feels too exhausted to have. "I'm tired" becomes the simplest, safest way to signal emotional overload without opening a door to deeper conflict or interrogation. This hidden stress reduces her mental space for closeness. She might still love her husband deeply, but her emotional energy is depleted, leaving no room for warmth or desire. Intimacy requires emotional openness, and emotional openness requires safety and calm. When she doesn't feel emotionally supported, her mind prioritizes survival and rest instead of connection. Understanding that her tiredness often originates from unspoken emotional weight helps create space for empathy, support, and healing, allowing her to reconnect without pressure or guilt. When a woman says she is tired, it is rarely just about physical fatigue. Her body and mind are deeply connected, and her physiological responses are a direct reflection of her emotional state. Emotional stress, unresolved conflicts, feelings of being unheard, or even subtle day-to-day pressures can create a mental environment where her body instinctively protects itself by reducing interest or responsiveness. This is not a conscious decision, it is a natural defense mechanism. When a woman feels rushed, pressured, or emotionally disconnected, her brain signals her body to conserve energy and avoid vulnerability. Physical intimacy requires a sense of safety and trust, and without these, the body instinctively becomes less receptive. The more a woman feels misunderstood, judged, or ignored, the more her mind sends inhibitory signals to her nervous system, lowering her arousal and making her appear tired. Men often misinterpret this as disinterest or rejection, when in reality it is the body's way of enforcing a pause until emotional safety is restored. Pressuring or urging her to engage physically during this state can backfire, increasing stress and further distancing her. What she truly needs is patience, empathy, and reassurance. Listening attentively, validating her emotions, and providing a supportive, non-judgmental environment allows her mind to relax. Once the mind feels safe, her body naturally follows, and intimacy becomes not a forced act, but a shared, willing, and fulfilling connection. Understanding this mind-body relationship is critical for building lasting intimacy and trust, as it emphasizes that emotional connection comes before physical connection, and that genuine desire emerges when the mind feels secure, valued, and emotionally supported. Rebuilding intimacy in a marriage or long-term relationship does not start with physical gestures or acts of affection. It begins with emotional connection. Many men make the mistake of assuming that closeness is achieved by initiating intimacy, buying gifts, or trying to solve problems quickly. While these actions may seem helpful on the surface, they often fail to address the deeper emotional needs that underlie a woman's sense of closeness and desire. Women experience intimacy first and foremost as a feeling of being understood, valued, and emotionally safe. When these needs are unmet, physical closeness can feel forced, uncomfortable, or even unwelcome. Emotional connection involves paying attention to her thoughts, concerns, and feelings without immediately trying to fix or correct them. It means actively listening when she talks about her day, acknowledging her stress, and showing empathy rather than judgment. Small, consistent acts of presence like asking how she is feeling, sharing your own emotions honestly, or simply spending undistracted